In the world of Magic the Gathering finance, you can never ignore reserve list buyouts. I can honestly say, I don't remember when I first heard the term buyout in Magic the Gathering finance. I would say it was somewhere around 2016 to 2018, maybe talking with some friends around a card shop table while playing some old school Magic. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks for hanging out with me on the channel today as we get more into this conversation about the downturn of the economy, how it's affecting Magic the Gathering, and the fact that buyouts apparently are gaining steam. So, the idea of a buyout is you are gaining a market share, a market control of any reserve list card, be it the most worthless cards you can think of or one of the most powerful cards out there. It's being able to control the market enough that you can set the price. That, yeah, sure, there's one or two little copies out there that somebody's marked lower. But after those copies are gone, you have such a control, a stranglehold on the market, that players have to buy from you. That is something that nobody can take away, and some people really do enjoy wielding that kind of power. Now, the good news is, to have that kind of power, somebody had to put a lot of money in, or a group of people had to put a lot of money out to accumulate that many copies, agree to a strategy and price setting, and control the market that way. It doesn't come around every day, although buyouts do happen quite often. Any buyout to me is more than 30 to 50 copies in a single week, more than 200 copies in a month. When we're talking about reserve list cards where some of the print runs are known and some are unknown, that is still a lot of copies to have move in the market. And some people really do like the idea of having so many copies. Either they just love and are fascinated with a certain card, artwork, or artist, or a mechanic in the game. But a lot of times it's going to be people who see that if I control this card, and I've looked at the market, I've gone over the specs of what's out there, and I see that there's only 50 of this copy after I get a controlling stake, and these 50 copies vary in price. Then you control the market. You can literally have a stranglehold on any one card, and nobody can stop you. Almost like a hostile takeover in the real world, where everyone wants to have an even distribution of the pie. Whoever has the most money and is willing to take that risk can potentially have the greatest reward. Now, I'm not going to talk about if buyouts are fair or not. It doesn't matter, because they're happening anyway and there's nothing anyone can do about it. Magic's not regulated or has an oversight committee making sure there's an even distribution of things. It's capitalism at its best, and worst, depending on which angle you're taking on it. As a person myself who likes to buy cards like Soldevi Excavations, Thrall Champion, I've got my little happy cards I like to collect, but none of those are in fear or they're not going to run out anytime soon. There's lots of them still out there, and more keep popping up each and every day. But sometimes cards just disappear from the market, and it takes a long time for them to restock. And as I've shown in earlier videos this year, it takes about a year for that price to trend back down. So if somebody is waiting for the price to fall on a particular card, and they've already done a buyout once, it won't happen 30 days after they did their first buyout. It's going to happen 9 to 14 months after their last buyout. And they could all be waiting and building to that, trying to collect more of those cards. Remember, anyone who wants to finish the set collection, anyone who wants to have a cool piece of artwork, will eventually have to go through those people if they can get enough of it. And when I think of the cards I've seen bought out this year, we've seen Soldevi Excavations, Thrall Champion, Seeds of Innocence, Triangle of War, Dwarven Pony, River Merfolk. There has been a lot of buyouts, guys. They've gone all year. Unfulfilled Desires just had one this weekend, right? We talked about it. We just had, where was one out there? Psychic Allergy just happened as well. And did anyone even notice that Argivian Archaeologist had like 50, 60 copies sell in the last 3 days? I'm mentioning it now because a patron mentioned it to me. I didn't even notice because I wasn't checking on that card this week for its sales listings, because it's usually 3 or 4 copies in a month. Not 50 to 60 copies, 40 to 60, whatever it was, compared to eBay, TCG Player locally, how many copies went. But those cards are $200 to $400 each. That's $30,000, $40,000 of cards that all disappeared. And it's not coincidence. Somebody bought them. And it wasn't just random players picking up. It was a concentrated effort to eliminate Argivian archaeologists from the available listings. Go look on TCG Player. Can you find one? No, you can't. Not there unless they've restocked it since the time I wrote this video up, edited it, produced it, and put it back out to you. It's fascinating. And the idea right now that we have a downtrend in the market and we have prices falling on so many cards. A lot of these reserve list cards are marked at about 50%, all the way down 2/3 to what they were back in 2021. That is a deal that cannot be ignored for a lot of people who have liquidity, those who have assets and cash available to buy up cards like this and wait out the storm. The ones who say, what's a 50 grand to me? I've made 20 million in the last couple of years. What's 50,000? It's a hiccup. If you don't think those people exist, you're wrong again. They're out there. Because they see what a lot of people don't see. When I recommend a card to buy to people, I'm recommending it because it could go up. Or it's hit an all-time low. And that means other people are going to be noticing it. And there's not much you can do about it if they decide to buy it ahead of you. Which is why I say to budget and be prepared for these things. Because the buyouts we're witnessing, they're happening quite quickly right now. If we see 2 or 3 in a month, that's a huge amount of buyouts to have happen on a list of cards that only has 572 choices. That means over an entire year, those available have probably been hit this year. When you do it week after week, month after month, if a card was bought out every day, within a year and a half, you're hit up almost every single card on the reserve list if it happened every day and in an organized fashion, which we know it wouldn't. But that blows my mind. And when I get these emails and people asking me about it, why do people do it? Why does this keep happening? It's not, again, I can only give the same answer so many times, right? Nobody controls it because it's an open market. There's no oversight. There's nobody stopping me from spending $20,000 and going and buying as many copies of Soldevi excavations as I can find in near mint. Nobody's going to stop me doing that. They're going to say, thank you for your money, Mox, man, and would you like another? And then eventually when there's none left and the price just starts drifting up, a lot of people will say, I'm not buying that card. Soldevi's not worth $50. You're right, it's not. But anyone who wanted to ever get one, if I'm the only one that controls it, you have to go through me because I don't care anymore. I can have them sitting there at, I don't know, let's just say $500 a card because there's none left in the open market. And if some person happens to have one and they put a card out for $250 when I have it marked for $500, and you see a card for $250, you're like, that's a deal, I gotta grab it. There hasn't been any for months. But that was one person who happened to have a copy. Eventually those get flushed from the system. And then that person in control can sit there year after year, decade after decade, whatever it takes, if they care enough to control that card. And that is just something that can't be ignored nowadays. Because I don't think these are over. I think it's going to get worse. We talked before about how shallow the actual reserve list pool is. And it's very apparent now in anything near mint. Cards that are truly near mint are almost impossible to find now on most of the cards I'm looking for. When I get them in the mail from TCG Player, from local stores, I find little nicks and things that would bother me enough to say it's not near mint. I consider it light played or light played plus, but it's not near mint. But it's still another card I've collected and I've decided to keep it and I just put it away. And then you get another one and another one. Even if you're slow at it and you're only buying 1 or 2 copies trying not to affect the price, there are people out there who don't care about the slow rise and they're willing to take $10,000, $15,000 and just obliterate a market over a couple of days. And they don't say anything. They wait. They wait until those orders have shipped. And then I get that friendly email saying, hey, did you notice these ones got bought out? Did you see this got bought out? It happens. Happens all the time. Buyouts are here. They're staying, and they're staying strong. And there are dedicated people out there who have a variety of reasons for wanting to own a card. and say they have the most of something. They may not have a Black Lotus, but if they say, I have the most copies in the world of Mightstone, I have the most in the world, nobody has more than me, and nobody ever can have more than me. Well, that's a pretty amazing thing to say unto itself, isn't it? Having a reserve list card that can never be reprinted, and you have the most in the world. And unless you give some up, nobody can ever have more than you. And people can be quiet about it. They can be sneaky about it, building their collections to that point. Some people never email me to tell me anything. And they probably watch my channel and go, he caught me. He sees that I've got a lot of copies of that. Oh, he saw that buyout. I'm sure it happens all the time. Because I don't catch every buyout. Like Argivian Archaeologist that just slipped by me. That would have gone by for days, weeks, until I caught up to it and noticed it. Unless one of my awesome patrons on the channel or one of the people who supports me by telling me what's going on out there happened to email me. And I thank you for that. I appreciate it. Guys, ladies and gentlemen, this isn't done. Understand that. You can empathize with the people out there who don't own these cards. You can say, oh, it's a shame that you're never going to have it. You can throw your arms up in the air and just go, what are you going to do? It's going to keep happening. Let them blow their money. And those people will happily keep blowing their money on what they think is cool. And you'll have the store saying, thank you for giving us your money. You go ahead and take that Mightstone. You go ahead and take the Weak Stone. Take that Dwarven Pony or the River Folk. Go ahead and take an Anvil of Bogarden or a Null Rod. There's a lot of decent reserve list cards out there still. But this is a very shallow river that was once part of a giant ocean that became a large lake. And as it trickles and trickles down and there's less and less out there and the pond gets smaller and smaller and there's nothing feeding into it anymore, when a drought comes like this and there's no cards left, it'll be supply and demand, and it's only going to go up. Because some people out there just want to see how many copies they can get, and they have no intention of selling those cards. And that way, the only way you can match off against them is to buy a copy yourself. That's the only way you can beat them, is to play the game and actually buy a copy of whatever card is in a buyout that you happen to want a copy of. And you're paying an increased price because they just did a buyout on it. And then FOMO can set in and other people can topple on to that, causing a chain reaction of events. That's how some of the huge buyouts happen. If I go out and buy 50 Soldevi excavations today, if there's even 50 out there on the open market, and I buy 50, and I tell people, hey, I'm going to buy this card, just letting you guys know on my channel, and 5 or 6 more people on the channel decide to buy a couple of copies, and a couple of people on my Discord, and a couple of people on my Patreon, and a few people by email who heard about it, that 50, that 60 becomes 100. It can get bad. So that's the only way you can play the game, which is horrible. Because it may not even be a card you cared that much about, but you cared enough not to want to miss out ever owning a copy of it. There's a lot of low-end reserve list cards that get hit and left alone again. Look for the cheap ones. Look for the ones that are still a couple of bucks. Buy yourself a near mint copy and get it over with. That way when a buyout does come along, it does not affect you personally the way it can affect other people later on 5-10 years down the road when all these cards keep spiking up. Guys, I hope you learned something today. There's not much we can do about it. Buyouts are here to stay and they're not going anywhere from what I'm seeing. Thanks a lot for tuning in. This is MTG Moxman. Looking forward to seeing your comments in the comments section. I'll see you guys all tomorrow. And of course, guys, a giant shout out to all the fantastic patrons on the channel who make videos like this possible each and every day. Patrons make the world go round and make things happen. Thanks again, everyone. You guys made till the end. A little bit of a rambling here at the end. When I look at these buyouts, it makes me realize how much I want to buy more of the cards I enjoy. But it's a huge investment of money, which I may never see a return on because I tend to keep my stuff. So I gotta temper it all and keep to the pace I'm at right now, which is a very straightforward, very timed, very planned course of action I take each and every month with the cards I buy. And you're just slowly picking up copies. And it's very unnoticed compared to the big splash of results we see from the giant buyouts that happen all at once. And I still think mine may not be the biggest, may not be the flashiest, but I'm still doing some damage. I'm still having some fun doing it. And that's all that matters. It's a great game, guys. But these buyouts are not done. They're going to continue, and with prices this low and the way the market is, there are those who will have no trouble weathering this storm and continuing to buy these cards out. If any of you guys have questions on a particular card, probably best to hit me up on an email, and I'll be happy to help you guys out, because you always make it to the end of my videos, and I can respect that. So for the, of course, end of the video here, you can put buyouts in the comments section, so I know you made it this far. All right, guys, have an awesome one. Thanks for hanging out with me today. And yeah, I think I'm going to buy some more Sildovia excavations. A couple of Thrall Champions, Trading Post, Lodestone, Rainbow Veil. Can't help myself. I'll see you guys tomorrow.